How's it going, everybody? Hope you're all well and looking after yourselves. Mr. Boulder here, back with another album ranking video. This week, going to be discussing the Floridian death metal legends Obituary. Fantastic band. Been into these guys since about 1994 when Demise come out. A classic death metal band. If you're looking into getting the death metal, this would be one of the bands I'd recommend cutting your teeth on, because even though they're really heavy, not everything's going at 270 beats per minute, and even though John Sardi's vocals are very heavy, you can still work out what he's saying the majority of the time. He's not someone like Frank Mullen from Suffocation, where it's really hard to hear what the vocals are about. But yeah, 10 studio albums to get through. Some absolutely brilliant stuff here, and the one that comes in last place is certainly not a pile of shit, but something's got to come last, obviously. So let's get into it. Number 10 for me is Darkest Day, which was released in 2009. Now, like I say, even though this is last in the list, this is still, for me, got some fantastic songs on it. But it's also got a lot of very average songs on it, which there's nothing wrong with them, but stuff just doesn't really stick out in the memory. Kicks off with List of Dead, which is one of Obituary's faster songs, and I absolutely love it. It's brilliant. I remember hearing it on a compilation CD which came through with Metal Hammer magazine back in the day. Brilliant song, catchy chorus, really memorable, great stuff. And there's other good stuff on here as well, like Payback, which is a much slower song, sort of that mid-tempo song that you can sort of, just nod your head to, because it's just got a great groove to it. Again, another catchy chorus, really nice guitar riff in that song as well. Really enjoy it. And there's other stuff in there I like as well, like Blood to Give, Violent Dreams, Truth Be Told, Forces Realign, and the last track, Left to Die. Really good stuff as well. But then there's some other stuff in there that just kind of passes you by and it doesn't really stick in the memory. On this album is Frank Watkins on bass, obviously the Tardy brothers, the late great Ralph Santalla on lead guitar. Yeah, not a bad album by any stretch of imagination, but there's some stuff on here that's really filler and doesn't really stick in the memory. But when it's good, it's really good. And for me, it's worth checking out for List of Dead and Payback alone. If you haven't got this one, I wouldn't recommend paying a lot for it. If you can grab it for cheap, though, it's still a good album to check out. So that's number 10. Obituary. That's the bloody soul again. Darkest Day from 2009. From 2007, I believe. Yep. Is the album before that, Executioner's Return. Again, another good album with really strong stuff on it. And just some average stuff that kind of passes you by, doesn't really stick in the memory. The thing musically which stands out to me most on this album is Ralph Santalla's guitar playing. There's some really nice, sweet picking soloing on this. Obviously, Ralph passed away a few years ago, which is very sad. He wasn't very old at all, so rest in peace, Ralph. The production on this isn't as good as on some other Obituary albums. Not terrible by any stretch of imagination, but just not quite as good as some of their other albums, production-wise. But yeah, it's still good stuff. Like I say, I know it's right down near the bottom of number 9, but there's still lots of good stuff on here. Face Your God, the first song's brilliant. Lasting Presence is really good. The very first track I ever heard in this, Evil Ways, number 3. Again, I think I heard on the Metal Hammer CD back in the day. Seal Your Fate's good. Contrast the Dead I really like. Second Chance is a fantastic song. Really catchy. Lies in Your Head are good, but there's just a few others on here that kind of pass you by, and even the really good ones, even though they're good, not quite as good as on other albums. But once again, this is another album that I wouldn't suggest you pay a lot of money for, but it's definitely worth hunting down and checking out if you're not familiar with it. Yeah, Obituary, a band that have never made a really bad album, but not one of the best, but still worth picking up. And if you're a lead guitar player, I'd recommend it just for Ralph's solos alone. The guy really knew how to play. Such a shame he passed away. He wasn't very old either. Such a shame. But that's number 9. Executioner's Return from 2007. Those are the ones I have on CD. Or the ones that I haven't got on vinyl, I should say. Let's get into some vinyl. Number 8 is their comeback album from about 2004, I think. Can't see it right now. It's about 2004, 2005. This is Frozen in Time. Tardy Brothers and Trevor Perez were back with Frank Watkins on bass. Yes, he is. And Alan West on guitar. Like Alan West soloing style. This is, again, another album that's got some really strong songs on it and some stuff that just passes you by and it's kind of forgettable. But the first album, I think it was in 7 years. I'm pretty sure it was 2004 now I'm thinking about it. And not a bad return at all, actually. And the first few songs are absolutely killer. Redneck Stomp's an instrumental, really, really good song. On the Floor, another great song. Insane, really, really good. Really, very catchy stuff. And then you got Standalone and Slow Death on side 2. Slow Death, a song I really like. Some sort of tribal drumming going on in the background of some of that stuff. And once again, I know I'm repeating myself, the rest of it's okay. Not terrible by any stretch of imagination, but just doesn't really stick out too much in the memory. Picked up this vinyl copy a few years ago when I was at Bloodstock. Happy to grab it. I'd not seen it on vinyl before, so I couldn't whip it out of the crate fast enough. Yeah, another good album. Definitely got some highlights, but again, a few songs that kind of pass you by. Nothing that's terrible by any stretch of imagination. Still good stuff. Not a bad comeback. Yeah, but for me, since I've made a comeback, there are a couple of albums that are better than this, obviously because they've not been shown yet in the ranking. But still a good album. That's Frozen in Time from 2004. Up next is the band, sorry, not the band, the album that they made before they split up for a while. This is Back from the Dead from 1997. A lot of people jumped off the Obituary train after this one, and I can see why, because I remember when this came out, I was a little bit disappointed. Again, though, this is like everything I've just shown already. Some really, really strong songs on it, but then some stuff that kind of passes you by. Yeah, so things went belly up for them after this. I think I remember reading that the Tardy Brothers weren't getting on so well at this point. Obviously, that all got sorted out because they came back years later. But some very, very good songs on this. I mean, the first two songs, Threatening Skies and By the Light, really, really memorable. Great guitar riffing. Platonic Disease, one of my favourite Obituary songs. It's really, really catchy. You know, it just goes to show that because you're playing death metal, you can still write catchy songs. Download's pretty good as well. Feed on the Weak I really enjoy. Lockdown and the title track Back for the Dead, from the Dead even, really, really good. There is a song right at the end though called Obituary, which is a remix, which is done with some hip hop guys. I've got no issues with some hip hop at all. I like a lot of hip hop from sort of the late 80s to the mid 90s. However, the song on this is just completely unnecessary. It's one of their songs with basically a couple of guys rapping over the top of it, and yeah, it just doesn't need to be there. Belongs in the bin as far as I'm concerned, but not a bad album by any stretch of imagination. I can see why it disappointed a lot of people though, because up until this point they'd released nothing but good albums. This is the first one that was a bit lackluster, I should say. But yeah, not bad, just not brilliant. Back from the Dead from 1997. Right, now up next is an album that a lot of people have right at the top of their list, or at least top 2. But for me, it's another one of those albums that doesn't quite live up to its masterpiece reputation. But it's still a very good album. It's their debut, Slowly Re-Rock from 1989. As you can see here, this is a nice music on vinyl reissue because original copies of this go for serious money. Yeah, for me, it's just not as good as it's made out to be by a lot of people, but I still really enjoy it. One of the things that stands out to me about this album, I was reading this just the other day, that apparently this album was recorded in standard tuning on a Fender Stratocaster guitars, not something that you really associate with death metal. I mean, I'm sure they modded the guitars with some different pickups or modded the amps. But the guitar tone on this is really, really good, and it's unbelievably heavy. I think it's in standard tuning. It's insane. A good debut album, without a doubt about it. I can't remember the name of the bass player on this. I think it's Daniel Tucker, actually. This is the only album that he appeared on. Good stuff, though. It's really, really good in places. Internal Bleeding's fantastic. Godly Beings, Till Death, opening 3, really good. Title track, Slowly Rot. I love that really slow, sludgy guitar riff that starts that tune off. And you've got Words of Evil, kicks off side B, Suffocation, and then you've got Intoxicated, which has got one of those classic Obituary breakdowns. Obituary were doing breakdowns and groove long before Pantera were doing groove, and long before every metalcore band deemed it necessary to put a breakdown in every single one of their fucking songs. But then after that, last three tracks just kind of passed me by. Deadly Intentions, Blood Soaked, Stinkopus, I think it's called. They're okay, nothing wrong with them at all, but just don't really stick out in the memory. But Intoxicated is definitely the best song on side B for me. Yeah, obviously this is the album that introduced everyone to this band, and I think John Tardy's vocals is what really sort of set him apart from everyone else. Without a doubt, he's the most distinctive, or one of the most distinctive death metal vocalists out there. You know, as soon as you hear him sing, you know you're listening to Obituary because he's got such a unique style. A very good album, but for me, just not as good as it's made out to be by a lot of others, but I still really enjoy it. But yeah, it's at number 6, their debut, Slowly Rot from 1989. So into the top 5 now. Number 5 for me is Inked in Blood. This is from, I think, 2014. Yep, 2014. I remember when I heard this, I remember thinking to myself, this is the best Obituary album for 20 years. They really came back with a bang. Here you've got Terry Butler on bass because Frank Watkins had left by this point. He has also passed away, sadly, so rest in peace, Frank. And Ken Andrews comes in on lead guitar. Obviously, the Tardy brothers still here with Trevor Perez. And this is me for some of their songwriting for a very, very long time. The opening track, Centuries of Lies, is brilliant. Really, really catchy. Crushing guitar riffs. You've got Pain Inside. Visions of My Head, another great song. I remember them playing that when I saw them at Bloodstock in about 2014-15. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. Absolutely love it. Violence is fantastic. Title track's really good. Deny You's good. Minds of the World. Out of Blood, I should say. And Paralysed with Fear. Yeah, some of their strongest songwriting for a long time. Again, it's got a few filler tracks on there, but still very much worth checking out. Production on this is fantastic. Everything sounds really, really good. Everything's very clear. Terry Butler on the bass, never a bad thing. Obviously of Death and Massacre fame. Great stuff. Best album they've made for quite a long time as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, that's Inked in Blood, yeah, from 2014. Fantastic stuff. Up next for me is their most recent album, their self-titled one from 2017. Yeah, obviously I think this is better than Inked in Blood because it's higher up the ranking. This album absolutely floored me when it first came out. I listened to it so much. The same lineup that recorded Inked in Blood before this, an absolutely phenomenal record. Production's not quite as good as Inked in Blood. However, I kind of like the fact that it's not quite as polished. I mean, it still sounds good, but just not as polished as Inked in Blood. I mean, when this come out, you know, this is like 28 years into their career, and John Tardy's voice is still as strong as it ever was. Maybe not quite as good as back in the day, but he still sounds ferocious. The vocals are absolutely fantastic. As always, the guitars sound amazing. Don Tardy's drumming, still absolutely on point. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. The first track I heard on this was Turn to Stone, and it blew me away when I first heard it. I remember coming home from work, and it had been uploaded to YouTube, listening to it, just blew me away. Such a fantastic, heavy song. Really, really catchy, really heavy. It just hooks in it left, right and centre. But Brave and Sentence Day are fantastic as well. A Lesson in Vengeance is great. Betrayed, Straight to Hell, 10,000 Ways to Die. A phenomenal album. You know, this is 28 years into these guys' career and they're still delivering the goods. And this is such a good album. If for some reason you haven't picked up the latter day Obituary albums, this and Inked in Blood, the ones I would say that pick up more than the likes of Executioner's Return, etc. A really good album. Sounds amazing. Some really, really catchy songs. Still writing really good songs, truly into their career. This is great stuff. Absolutely love it. The self-titled album from 2017. Excellent stuff. Right, top 3 now. And up next is my first Obituary album, the first one I ever heard. back in 1994. World Demise. Yeah, this was a kick in the arse when I first heard it. This is so good. The first track on this, Don't Care, is probably one of my favourite Obituary songs. It is absolutely phenomenal. Brilliant guitar riffing in it. I absolutely love Alan West's solo. The dive bomb he's doing with the tremolo is fantastic. One of the catchiest death metal songs you ever hear, but so unbelievably heavy at the same time. When John Tardy's screaming, I don't care, it just sounds brilliant. And still to this day, you mean, what's this, 27 years after I first heard it? Absolutely floors me. And then you got the title track next, which is also an amazing song. Well, Demise is so good. Again, it's really catchy, but brutally heavy at the same time. Redefined is very, very good as well. Solid State, first track on side B is fantastic. Splattered, absolutely love that. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Great stuff. Final Thoughts, another great song. Boiling Point, Set in Stone, you've got Kill for Me. Side B's all killer. There's just a couple inside A that slightly let it down, but it's really, really good. Absolutely love it. And I'm not just saying it because it was the first album theirs I ever heard. It's just great. Such a good album. Yeah, what more can I say? Fantastic. Sounds brilliant as well. Can't remember who produced it. This is great stuff. Out on Roadrunner Records. World Demise from 1994. Phenomenal album. Really, really good. That was number 3. Number 2. The End Complete from 1992. I won't lie, before I started doing this list, I didn't used to think too much of this album. I just thought it was okay. And when I came back to it this week to listen to it for doing this album ranking, I realised that I've been talking out of my arse. This is absolutely amazing. Such a good album, and just so many classic Obituary songs on this. Yeah, let's get into it. I'm in Pain, the first track, absolutely phenomenal. I absolutely love the chorus of that. John Tardy sounds absolutely fantastic. Back to One's really, really good. Sickness and Corrosive. Killing Time's brilliant. The End Complete, the title track. The outro instrumental part on that is one of my favourite bits of music ever. It just sounds fantastic. Great guitar riff, and the way Don Tardy changes up the drums with the fills that he puts in there, it just sounds brilliant. And then Rotting Waves right at the end again, another amazing catchy song. So brutal and so heavy. But yeah, it's just fantastic. Alan West was back in the band. He was out for their second album. It's great stuff. It really is. I mean, I'm in Pain. So heavy. It's unbelievable. The riffing's great, as always. Musically, it's just on point. Just a phenomenal album. I can't believe I should just think this was okay. I absolutely love it now. Yeah, doing these album ranking videos makes you go back and listen to everything, and makes you realise that you were wrong about some things. And I was wrong about the fact that I just thought this was okay. It's phenomenal, hence it's number 2. Such a fantastic album. A couple of little filler tracks in there, but brilliant, brilliant stuff. Just an absolute classic from back in 92. Brilliant album. The End Complete, Obituary, absolutely fantastic. So let's get to number 1. Now, before I did this video, I knew this was going to be number 1. But I'd still listen to everything again just to make sure. I didn't want it to be like, oh yeah, that's number 1. I don't need to listen to it. So I listened to everything just to make sure, and it's still number 1. Where for me, all the Obituary albums I really, really enjoy. But all of them have got a bit of filler on. But for me, this one hasn't got any filler on it at all. It's Cause of Death from 1990. Yeah, no disrespect to the rest of their discography, but for me, this is by some considerable distance their best album. For me, this is much, much better than Slowly We Rot. Phenomenal stuff. Yeah, so Alan West was out of the band and they brought in James Murphy for the lead guitar on this. James Murphy, you'll know who he is. He was a member of Cancer and Death and Testament at some point and loads of other bands. The guy's a phenomenal player. The lead guitar on this is amazing. So if you're a lead guitar player and you're not familiar with this album, you'll want to listen to this just for the lead playing. But it's just packed with absolutely classic songs. there's at least 3 songs off the top of my head I can think of from this album that are just, for me, stone cold death metal classics. Infected's very, very good. Great opener. Body Bag. Then you got Chopped in Half, which is one of those classic songs. Absolutely phenomenal. Brilliant guitar riffing. Catchy stuff. Then you've got an amazing cover of Celtic Frost's Circle of the Tyrants. I could even argue it's better than the original. Side A closes with Dying. Side B starts with Fire Near Your Eyes. Cause of Death, Memories Remain, then Turned Inside Out. Another absolutely phenomenal song. Brilliant riffing, very, very catchy, absolutely fantastic. This album is just brilliant from start to finish. There's no bad songs on it. Interestingly, I remember seeing an interview with Don Tardy, and he said he doesn't really like listening to this because he doesn't like the triggered kick drums. Don't know why. I think they sound fantastic. Yeah, production-wise, this is amazing. I think this is done by Scott Burns at Morris Sound. I can't see on the back, but I'm pretty sure it is. I mean, tons of great death metal albums were recorded at Morris Sound by Scott Burns back in the day, and I'm pretty sure this was done by him and recorded there. It's just absolutely perfect. A brilliant album. Yeah, if someone said to me, I'm looking against Obituary, which album would you recommend first? I'm always going to recommend this one first. Not a bad song on it, an absolute classic. This is a real masterpiece. Phenomenal, phenomenal death metal. From 1990, once again, John Tardy's vocals are fantastic. The drums from Donald Tardy are brilliant. Frank Watkins on the bass and Trevor Peary on the rhythm guitar. It just sounds phenomenal. Production's fantastic, obviously. Every song's killer. A perfect album, an absolutely perfect album. If you haven't checked out Obituary, then this is the go-to album to check out first. It is absolutely amazing. Brilliant stuff. My number one Obituary album, Cause of Death from 1990. Go and check it out if you're not familiar with it. Right, guys, that's it for this week. Thanks for sticking around and watching towards the end. As always, if you like this video, please hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. I picked up a few new subs recently, so welcome to the new subs and thanks for subscribing. I'll be back next week with either a CD or a vinyl update. I'll catch up with you soon. Take care of yourselves. Catch you later. Yeah, goodbye.